Hey everyone, History Mystery Man here and back on the trail in search of looking for lost speedways. I guess I'm hooked now after discovering the old American Legion Speedway just outside of Salem and more recently the old Mitchell Speedway off Highway 60 just outside of Mitchell. I'm just hooked, and now I'm in search of the old Mitchell Speedrome, which was just off Highway 37 just in the Mitchell, Indiana area. And good news is I found it. You're looking at turn one. See that little hill back there, little banking? It's still there. So we're on old 37 here in Mitchell, Indiana. And I had a conversation with Merle Wilson, Diz Wilson's son, and he was telling me that the Mitchell Speedrome was very near here on old 37. It's really interesting back here. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. Look at that old barn. Cool. Anyway, he was telling me one of the entrances to the old Mitchell Speedrome was just past the old cemetery here on old 37, and there's the old cemetery he spoke of. So one of the entrances would have been just past the cemetery somewhere in here. So we know we're in the neighborhood. In fact, there's now a subdivision, you're looking at it, where the old Mitchell Speedrome was. This would have been the grandstand side. And behind these homes was the quarter mile. We're going to dig around a little bit back there just for the heck of it all, but we're landed. We have located the property of the old Mitchell Speedrome. So this is basically what's left of the Mitchell Speedrome. I'm down here in the infield or pit area. There's not a lot of race cars today. It's now a subdivision, but we're down in the flat. Okay, this would have been the middle of the track where people parked, people pitted, and that sort of thing. But you can see the slope. It slopes up to the left. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see it, and it slopes up to the right. So that would have been the backstretch. They've pretty well shaved off turns 3 and 4, but you can see how it slopes up to meet the straightaway. The grandstands were once here where these homes are, and if there's anywhere where it's very clear cut, it's right here. I mean, they left some of the original character to the land, and you can see how that banks up and around. They left that. That's turn 1 and 2, the old Mitchell Speedrome. Well, I sure wasn't able to dig up very much on the old Mitchell Speedrome other than I found out where it was. Sometimes that's just about all that's left of these places. I think the story coming out of the Mitchell Speedrome was that one man gave up his life there. They raced there several years, but it did take the life of one man, Robert Miller, Bobby Miller, who was born on July 21, 1929. He's buried here at the Riverview Cemetery in Seymour, Indiana, very near the Mellencamp family plot, actually. But Robert V. Miller died August 7th, 1960. The gravestone doesn't say much outside of "in memory of my loving husband." Rest in peace, Bobby Miller. Just a quick note while we're here at the Riverview Cemetery. Bobby Miller's dad, Menlo V. Miller, is buried here too. I assume that's his mom, Violet. But Menlo, his dad, outlived him by what? 11 years at least, yeah. Love forever. It's certainly worth pointing out that Bobby Miller was a U.S. Navy veteran. He would have been about 22 during the Korean War, so stands to believe that he may have certainly served in the Korean War. He lived here in Seymour, Indiana, and he lived in that gorgeous little limestone ranch right behind me here on North Pine Street. Bedford limestone, that is, mined out of the quarries in Bedford, Indiana. But that is a sweet little house, and that's where Bobby Miller lived with his wife. So wandering through the old Bass Cemetery here in Mitchell, Indiana, the cemetery right next to the property of the old Mitchell Speedrome, it's a little kind of creepy weird to me that if you tumbled off of turns 1 and 2 at the old Speedrome, you may end up in this cemetery. But that's the way it was. A couple of things on the Speedrome. I searched high and low for photos. I went to libraries. I went to some local newspapers. I asked everybody I knew on the subject if they had any photos of the old Mitchell Speedrome, and I could not find one outside of the photo of Bobby Miller sitting in his sprint car, which we believe was taken where he died in that car and at the Mitchell Speedrome. Now, we absolutely know that we found the property of the old Mitchell Speedrome. Further evidence would be some of the neighbors I talked to who now live on the property of the old racetrack, specifically Gina and Vince King, who were telling me that when they dug for their septic tank out back, that they dug up old car parts and broken beer bottles and pieces of rubber and plastic and all these things that would suggest they were right on top of the old racetrack. In fact, the most telling evidence, they told me, was the fact that they had to dig through red clay. Well, when you're building a dirt track, clay is the preferred surface, whether it was black, brown, or red. But red clay would suggest, virtually tell you, you found the property, you found the old racetrack. Well, I'll tell you what this was interesting. I was on the property of the Kings back, and I could, it's now a housing development, the old Mitchell Speedrome, but you can still see some of the character of the land, the banking of how it used to be. They didn't take it all away,
No, it's still a little over there.
It's sloped. There's a little slope left to it. Yeah. Now, how long has your dad been gone?
Let's see, he died 11 years ago.
Oh, really? Not too long ago.
He was...
How old was he?
He must be 95.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good news for you, huh?
Bird.
Tough old bird.
He was tough old bird.
What, so...
Rode a motorcycle till he was 80.
Did he make his living in racing? I mean, is that how he did it?
No,
what,
he was
that
an electrician.
He was an electrician?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And he was from Mitchell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
At the time he actually was running the racetrack, he was on the road as an electrician. And he was very busy. I was a little feller, and I remember going out there, and I can still picture all of it. As we were kids, we played on that track.
Did you that track? You mean Mitchell Speedway?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember Mitchell Speedrome?
Sure.
Were you ever there?
Yeah. You talking about the one here?
Right, right off of 37. It was it had some banking to it because I can still see it.
Banked. It was
yeah, I can still see the banking.
Yeah.
And I think they had one driver fatality, a gentleman by the name of Bob Miller.
Killer.
You saw it?
Yeah.
What happened?
The car rolled over. When it rolled over, his head got between the track and the roll bar and just smashed his head.
Ugh. Yeah. Was that like an open wheel sprint car of the day? Yeah,
non-wing.
Non-wing. Did he have a full cage on it, or was that?
Full cage,
so he had a cage.
He came out enough of the car that the straps weren't tight enough, and it pulled out and hit his.
Do you remember what part of the track that happened in? Like
turn 4.
Turn 4. That would have been coming out. What is now Vince King's backyard.
Yeah. Down to the north a little bit.
Yep.
Sure was.
Would
I
you
was standing right there watching.
Would you be kind enough to share some of your photos with me?
Sure. I got an album if you want to.
Oh, I'd love to. Absolutely. Whatever you prefer, sir. You're the boss. Hey, with me. I love your home, by the way. Log cabin.
Thank you.
That is really neat. It's beautiful. I love rustic log anything, you know. Oh, wow, this is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. Look at that old grandfather clock in the corner. This is really nice. Oh, and you already got it out.
Yeah, I had to hunt for it because I haven't had it for a while. And as a matter of fact...
You didn't have to go down in the creepy cellar, did you?
There's your article.
My article?
Well, a bit of paper with the article in it.
I didn't even know I had another article. Look at that. This is ill-fated Mitchell Speedway documented in new video. Hey, that's me. Wow. I didn't know this. I never knew they wrote this.
Yeah, it was in the paper just the other night.
That is really cool. I got to get a copy of that. Hello, I'm so sorry to bombard your home.
This is my friend Elaine.
Hello, friend Elaine. I want to thank you. I hope I'm not too alarming here.
No.
Perfect stranger from Toledo, Ohio. I'm a history geek. I love racing. I grew up in racing. So, and I'm finding out this Lost Speedway thing is super duper popular right now. So I'm hot on the trail. Anyway, what else you got?
Earnhardt Jr.'s got, a thing going on.
I know he does.
This is an annual. I don't know what all I've got in here. This is from Tri-State Speedway, 1948.
Tri-State Speedway?
Yeah.
Would that be Hobstadt?
Yes.
Which is still there.
Basically, yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Evansville?
Yeah. As you can see, this is all farm ground.
Yeah.
And now it's all housing addition.
No, that doesn't surprise me. That's Mitchell? Mm-hmm. Wow. That's your mom?
That's my mom.
You and your older sister?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
She's passed on.
That's the covered grandstand behind you at Mitchell Speedway.
Yep. This is Evansville.
That's your dad?
That's my dad.
Well, it's about time we found your dad. I had to work hard to find a picture of your dad.
That's an old
picture.
picture.
He's got two girls next to him.
Neither one of them are my mom.
Uh-oh. Oh, here's the other side to Herman. The rest of the story on Herman Davis.
He rode a lot of years before his mom got married. These are my uncles.
Yeah. I kind of surmised that, the old Mitchell Speedway only lasted, half dozen years because, they had, 6 fatalities. They had a rough go of it. Did you feel like, I know you were so young then, but do you feel like that contributed to the end of Mitchell Speedway?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Dad talked about it.
Did he?
Yeah. We talked, of course, I grew up around there and as little kids we played on it, I'd ask him questions. And I was old enough to know things, and he said, it just got to be too much and there was too many problems, and this was back before they were sue happy.
Right.
People understood it was dangerous.
Yeah.
And
that was its lure. The attraction of auto racing back in the the post World War II era, people went in large part because it was dangerous. They were modern day daredevils. That's exactly what they were. I got to tell you, I heard a story straight from Ken Squire, who was a broadcaster for the Daytona 500 for years. Bill France Sr., the founder of NASCAR, absolutely hated the safety aspect. When safety started coming on, he hated it because he felt that he didn't sell as many tickets. He didn't want to concentrate or focus so much on safety because it was the very danger of the sport that sold the tickets. He hated safety.
And the Evansville track they had tons. Well, you've seen the pictures. They had tons of people, but they didn't get killed down there as bad because they were different type racing. It wasn't the half-mile open wheel where they got the speed up.
Without a roll cage, without a roll bar. The safety just wasn't there.
I told Lane, we talked about it, and I said, back then, they rolled a car over and killed a guy. They just flipped the car back, put another driver in it, and took off because it didn't hurt the car.
Yeah, they didn't stop the racing event like they might today.
Well, it was like a tank.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the car collapses, flies apart, and the guy gets out and goes, whoosh, that's bad, But back then, it was a different story.
Yeah, they were driving tanks, literally. Yeah. You know what? You're talking, and I'm looking at your backyard here. This is beautiful. As far as I can see, I see hills, rolling hills. It really is.
This is my old home place there.
You're kidding me.
About 3 years ago.
Way back in the distance?
1957.
I'm going to zero in on that.
We moved here.
That's your old homestead back there? Uh-huh. Wow.
I was 11 years old.
You lived there with your father, Herman Davis, and your mom. That's where the family lived?
Yep.
That was the old Davis farm?
Yep.
And you can see it now from your backyard?
Oh, yeah. I sold the house in 3 acres.
That's so interesting.
And he wanted a bigger farm. We raised cattle and raised everything at one time.
Going up the driveway to the old Herman Davis homestead, the owner and founder of Mitchell Speedway. This was all supposed to be about the Mitchell Speedrome, and in large part it will be, but we wiggled Mitchell Speedway back in because I hooked up with Herman's son Roger, and the story just got better and better. But this is the old Herman Davis homestead, who owned and operated Mitchell Speedway and Evansville Speedway here locally. He ran a local service station in downtown Mitchell. Super interesting. Coming down the front stretch, in between those two sheds, would have been the entrance to turn 1 with a little banking you can see there. Turns 1 and 2. You can definitely see the little bowl. I can see part of the banking there. Right here. Yep. But specifically going this way, you can see the banking in the front stretch. And it banks even more as it sweeps off in between turns 1 and 2, between those 2 little sheds at the far end. See the slope coming around? See that? Right there? That's the bank coming off turn 2. It's now someone's backyard, but much of the character of the old track's still here. You can make out the bowl. And while we're here, wanted to point out, there's that old cemetery we were talking about going the other way on 37. Since we're in the theme of motorsports, wanted to show you just down the way. You've heard of Chase Briscoe, right? We know he's from Mitchell, Indiana, the 2016 ARCA National Champion and NASCAR Xfinity Series winner several times over, and really turning himself into a big name in the motorsports industry. That's where he grew up. Boyhood home of Chase Briscoe. How about that?